to Inferno TV, and I'm your host, Jasmin St. Clair. I'm sitting with the infamous Norwegian band, actually one of the most popular bands, Borknagar. I've got to say, it's a total honor to be sitting in the same room with you guys, let alone like able to just like touch you like that. My God, this is great. So how's everything going? I mean, it's like an old family reunion. You have Seaman back in the band.
Yeah.
What's that like?
No, it's great, you know, and he's such an immense talent, you know, and just to bring him back and to be able to use all his talent for the greater good of the band, it's amazing. Yeah.
And actually, what brought about the whole reunion and coming out with Erd?
Well, it's sort of a long story, but I mean we've been friends for ages, and it's like the people who've been playing in Borknagar and who are not playing in Borknagar anymore. They're still our friends, you know. There's no drama to it. So the thing is, we started talking with Seaman about doing some things on Universal, our former album, and he did a song there, and we just kept talking and. He had the time to get back into Borknagar and to be able to put his creativity back in the band. So we just decided as a band that would be a great thing, and I think we all agree that it worked out perfectly with the album as well. I mean, yeah, we're really glad he's back in the fold.
Yeah, I'm glad to. He's got that really epic voice. I kind of like just visualize him standing on the top of a mountain and just going, whoa. So what does Erd mean? U-R-D. Does that signify anything, or is it just a word you guys made up?
Yeah, that's a word we made up.
No, it's not.
No, Øystein can explain that.
Yeah, it's more linked to the northern mythology, actually.
Okay.
And I think on this album we wanted to have a more back to the roots, back to the musical history and stuff like that. So we wanted to have a Norwegian name. And Erd is basically representing, it's like from northern mythology you have these three Norns standing under the tree of life, Yggdrasil, which is like weaving the lifeline of mankind. And Erd is the one that represents the past, basically, the history, the roots. So that's the basic intention behind the title.
Kind of a risky title for English speakers, though. I mean, if we had bad reviews, you could quite easily have fun with that title. But we really didn't care, so we're glad we got good reviews.
Actually, this Norn has even has an English translation. It's the English word for it is weird, I think. W-Y-R-D.
Weird.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the English translation of this character from the
Yeah.
mythology.
But Erd is a character from the northern mythology, and it's about connecting the past to the present, which is kind of what we've done with the album, which is why we found it to be a very fitting title. So yeah.
Well, you guys have been around for quite some time, since like 95 or 96, and I guess you guys got divorced at some way and then got remarried at some point, or whatever it is. I mean, what do you think it is that actually brought you guys back together to do this? And what does it mean to you to play Inferno Festival? This is definitely a much better lineup than last year, by the way.
Yeah, well, Borknagar never stopped, though. We just had lots of different lineup changes. I've been in the band since like 98, 99. And what happened with Urd, our new album, is it's just sort of a progression, bringing the whole line of Borknagar albums and the things that we've done up to date, musically speaking. So we just build on that, and then as a band, I mean, we don't play live a whole lot. So for us to be able to come and do the Inferno Festival is great, because Jens here actually started the Inferno Festival many years ago. Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Don't say that. He's like only 23 years old. I don't know what you could be possibly speaking about, really. Jens, what are your thoughts on Inferno Festival from when it actually first started to what it is now? And what do you think, where do you think Inferno Festival's place is as far as like festival-wise, like on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I think as a metal festival, it's become very important. It's even though it's quite small compared to some of the bigger international festivals. It's become quite important, with especially for the Norwegian scene, gathering here with all the friends of the Norwegian scene. this is like the one time a year you get to meet all these people and have a party, you know. The whole initial idea was that it was the bands, it was a festival for the bands, by the bands, and I think although it's been wavering for a few years, I think maybe this year shows back to even the festival is back to the roots there, and focusing a bit more on the band side of the festival.
And the Norwegian approach, I mean, that it's been important in Norway because, I mean, there's such a big metal environment in Norway. We have so many bands, and there's so much creativity going on as well. And I think what Inferno has done, and what's really important about what Inferno has done, is trying to bring up a lot of the new bands, a lot of the really interesting bands that are sort of pushing the envelope of what the metal expression should be like. I mean, when we went up here just 10 minutes ago, we saw a band on stage with a ukulele and some other weird stuff. So yeah, you see what's happening, you know. People bring weird stuff into the metal, and that's great. And I think Inferno's been really good at bringing those bands to their stages. So yeah.
And just being around Norway, and of course Norway is pretty famous for black metal, Varg, you know, things like that. But how far do you think do you think the black metal scene has become very commercialized over the years?
Not necessarily commercialized, maybe, yeah, but it's more professionalized, I would say. It's more kind of turned into being more like a mature movement than a childish thing back in the beginning of the 90s. I think it's a good thing. I like evolution, I like the progression and stuff like that, so I think it's become more of a... yeah, maybe more commercial. I don't think that's intention, at least that's my intention with the band. It's more like, you know, we don't necessarily want to be, you know, rock star on a big scale, but it's even though you have gained some respect in Norway and abroad and stuff like that, so it's more mature, I would say.
I think it progresses in all kinds of directions. I mean, you have one direction which is the more commercialized, streamlined form of black metal, you know, which is packaged and pushed to kids who need to piss off their parents, you know. But you also have directions which are much more focused on the development of musical side of things. I mean, the avant-garde black metal movement or the post-black metal movement, you know. So I think that what happens is that the scene sort of splits up into many different directions. But since we're so few people in Norway, and I mean, there are more bands than there are people here, almost, well, even though bands move in different directions, it's still the same sort of environment, which is quite healthy for the bands that are here. I mean, we're preoccupied with what other bands are doing, and they're preoccupied with what we're doing, and we get inspiration, and yeah, it's a good environment for developing.